Right, you can go for it.
Okay, what you see there is my final image in Photoshop. Unfortunately, I didn't save all my various steps, but I'll try and explain most of them. I started off, obviously, with the image from the C079, the stacked image, and I used Cyril, the first piece of software, and I removed the background as the first step, and then I did the color calibration. And with that image, I then saved it, and as a FIT file, as a TIFF file, and I then went into Photoshop. Now, the first step in Photoshop, which I did, was to set the background to a nice, proper level, which I did in level, adjustment levels, which was 30, 30, 30 in the red, green, and blue images. And that set the background for me. And my next step was to equalize the background, which I did with Gradient Exterminator. That also removed some of the gradients in the image. There weren't many of them, but at least it smoothed that out. Then my next step was just to bring some of the faint nebulosity out. Now this image it's not a nice one to work with, in the sense that the density of the nebulosity isn't that great. I don't know how many images were used for compilation of this stacked image, but I couldn't get the proper nebulosity out in fine detail. If I try to get more detail out, I increased the grain, which wasn't nice. So I had to stop. Normally, I go further with my process, which is basically curves, where I've got moving up the contrast between the various nebulosity and the background, trying to get the faint nebulosity more visible. And I could only do that up to a certain point. So I thought to myself, I'll stick with that. And then my next step was I use astronomy tools, some various steps there. I tried to reduce the stars, not excessive, but at least there were many stars in this image. And I reduced quite a lot of them. And after that, I went on and did some local contrast enhancement. That also gives a good contrast to the whole image. And then also I did some sharpening. And also I did some, I think I did use noise reduction, yes. I did it twice. First I did topaz. And then secondly, that's a one filter. And then secondly, I used the noise reduction, space noise reduction in astronomy tools. At the end, I did some color enhancement here as well, just to get a bit more of the reds out and a bit of the blue. And that I did with lab. I think most of you are familiar with that process. It's lab color, which you use in the filter. it's if you go to filters, you'll see there under other, there's the high pass filter. And you can use that. It's got a small process which you have to follow, but it brings out quite nicely the image and contrast. I didn't do, normally I do some.
Can I just ask a question quickly?
Yeah.
I remember you showing us that lab colors quite a while back. I think we haven't been going for long. And I think that seemed like quite a useful thing. And I remember quite spectacular improvements. Maybe at some stage we can just go through those procedures in particular time, maybe in another session.
Yeah. Yes, no, we can do that. It's a very, very useful technique, which brings out the colors and the contrast. You can control the strength of that, which is very useful. That was basically my final image, which I got after the high pass filter. And as I've said, unfortunately, I didn't save this. I was in a hurry. I didn't save all those steps to go through them. But if you have any questions, I'll try and give some explanation. But you must know a bit about Photoshop and also some of the astronomy tools to do the various processes. I'm not sure about the detail of the nebulosity. Derek, maybe you succeeded to get more of the nebulosity density out. As I've explained, every time I try to get more detail, it becomes a bit crunchy. Yeah, I got this bit up here, not too badly, and this down here, but the others become very, very crunchy. All these.
Yeah, the white sort of whites and blues you've brought out beautifully. I don't think I got that out as well as you did.
Yeah.
And I see some of the other examples actually did that beautifully on the list of images on the website for the.
Yeah, I saw one there. I didn't have a very close look whose image that was, but they got the nebulosity out here very nice and smoothly down here as well.
I think what most of them, the procedures they do, I think they remove the stars first. Yeah. I think that makes a big difference. Then they only work on the nebulosity, and then they just add the stars back later in on. Afterwards, completely with the stars not luminosity not increased or nothing at all, just as they almost were in the original image, just so that you can only just see they're there. Yeah. And then you mainly just see that the nebulosity in their images. So that's something I want to try. I did have another procedure, that JP Mezzavino guy, where he actually deals with each color channel separately, because the red part of the stars is a different size to the blue part of the stars, for example. So you actually treat each channel separately, but remove the stars from each channel, treat the nebula in each channel separately, then add the stars back and then combine it all back again. It's quite a procedure. But I must say that it's quite effective.
Yes.
But I think the others, they just remove the stars from the image and then treat the RGB of the nebulosity, really. Yeah.
No, you're quite right, Derek. I think I would have followed that route.
It's quite time consuming.
Yes, it's time consuming. I just didn't have time, but I'll try and give this another go when I have more time. And then I've got to get rid of the stars, and then I'll just concentrate on the nebulosity to see whether I can get that better. And then I'll bring the stars back. But my opinion is that there are too many stars. If you look at the original image, it's more than I've got here. And I feel I've got already too many stars here, still too many stars. So I will reduce the stars as well. And I think then you might see the nebulosity better.
Yeah, the problem is to try and do your stretching without stretching the stars. So
Yeah.
several ways one can tackle that.
Yes.
Probably the best is remove the stars. You get that thing called StarNet, which I think removes the stars, but I think you've got to pay for that. Have you got it? Okay.
I've got StarNet.
I've looked at it, but to me it was too complicated to use, I think.
Yeah, I haven't used it. I got it after Pete mentioned that to us.
Okay, yeah.
And I got that, but I haven't had the opportunity to use it. I think I can try some of the stuff that I haven't used on this image to see whether I can get a better image at the end.
Have you got just your one file shared, or have you got your whole computer screen shared?
No, I've only got this one.
Okay,
So
have you got that images folder open on your computer or not?
No. The one there's the stacked image.
You know that folder of that group.
Oh no, I haven't got that open.
Yeah.
If you have a look at the images.
Yeah, I think that's quite instructive to see what they did.
Yeah.
What else do you want to share with us?
No, I think that was it.
Okay.
I'm not very happy, as I've said, with the image final result. So
it's a very difficult one. So it's not. This is not one you can do in a quick process.
No, you'll have to do some special procedures here.
As Blair MacDonald seems to quite often, I mean, he doesn't call it a challenge for nothing.
No.
His data is not easy to work with.
Yeah, no, especially the last couple or the last few which he presented. Some of them were very dim. And this one, as I've said, you've got to be very careful if you want to get the velocity nice and smooth. But at least I saw the bit of blue here and a bit of blue there.
How did you manage to get that out? You say that's with the lab color procedure?
No, I did that with what was that process? Yeah, that was lab color. You're right. Got the A channel and the B channel. The A is magenta, and I think the what's another one? And it's not red; it's magenta and yellow.
It's the opposite of the RGB. It's sort of
it's the opposite of your color circle. The other one, the B, is blue and yellow, and that's where I made an S curve. You know, you will see when you go into the lab that you make an S curve, and that increases the color of the red on its own without affecting the blue, and the other way around, you increase the color of the blue without affecting the color of the red. That's where you can bring out a bit more of the blue.
And the L part of it is luminosity.
Yeah, the L part is luminosity, which I just concentrated on the color.
Okay. Shall I go and find that images directory, or somebody else want to share their images?
I'll take my share away.
Anybody else got images?
Seems to be silent.
Okay, I'm just going to quickly go into my thing and go and find it. So, here we go. Photos. Okay, now I must go back to Zoom. I'm going to say share. Here's the groups one, that one. Share. Okay, can you see this?
Yes.
Sorry, I'm just trying to. Oh, there, things gone up here. Okay, my mic is on. So, where's my one? 079. It's in there. All right, so these are all the other people. So this one is mine. So what you can see, I also had a hassle with the stars, so it's definitely something I want to improve. But this was just done in Affinity. I struggled with, I wanted to use that Cyril to remove the background, but I couldn't get it right. It just failed the procedure every time. Get back. So if you look at these others, you can see they removed the stars a lot. And if you look at Chuck's version 3, look at that. This is something to aspire to. You see the way that the stars are very reduced. They're hardly there. You're just aware that they're there. They're not over dominant at all. And he's got a massive balance of the blue out and just a bit of the red. So yeah, definitely a difficult one. And it was this Chuck that sent me an email with a whole lot of tips of things I could do. I had it open, but I didn't see if I've got it here. Okay, I can share that quickly. Let's go to new share. Where is that? There. All right, so this is what he said. He just gave a few tips here. If it's bigger. He would reinstate the blacks using the tools. I don't know what he means by that. He wants a slightly red background. He reckons you must download Nebulosity. I must actually do that. It's free now, apparently. Yeah, okay, but he's got a few things here that I want to try. And then if I look, yeah. Right, can I show you my image that I did last night of the of M42? I just need to find it. Okay, let me go back to where Zoom now. And I can't find Zoom. Okay, share. Right, can you see that? Deon?
Sorry. Yeah, I see that.
Yeah, okay, so this was just, I just mainly wanted to try I'd replaced all the bearings on the mount, the HECO5 mount that Johan gave me. You know, the bearings weren't seriously bad, but I just thought it could be improved with new bearings. As those Chinese bearings that they originally put in are not actually great. All the YouTube tutorials tell you that. And it made a big difference. They were smooth. And then I spent a lot of time trying to tune out the backlash in the drive gears. Got that the best I could, because previously I could only get horrible tracking with it. It was fine for just viewing through the telescope. But as soon as you try and do camera photos, now you can see the stars are fairly round. So I just managed to get that quite right. So I took 20 images with at 45-second exposures. Beyond that, the trailing, you start getting trailing, and then of the 20, 7 I couldn't use. it was quite windy last night, and on my wooden deck, if the wind gives the slightest shake on the scope, and you just see squiggles in the stars. So I had to kick out 7 of them. And then I took a whole lot of 8-second images. All of them were good. There was no squiggles on that, obviously, because they were so short. And then superimposed that on this to get the core not so bright, and used sort of the core of that. Stacked it all in deep sky stacker, and saved the image as a 32-bit TIFF image, which you can then process 32-bit images in Affinity. So I processed everything in Affinity and got this. Any opinions on this? All right. Okay. Anybody got any comments on this?
Yes, I see in the area surrounding the nebula, the background is, I wouldn't say pixelated, but you can see sort of rectangular sections of various intensity gradients. How would you remove that?
Sorry, I don't see what you're saying.
Well, I've got a big screen, so it's sort of a bit zoomed in. But in the area surrounding the nebula, and it sort of graduates towards the edges of the frame, I can see that there are like jaggy rectangular, looks like
yeah, I see it.
It's not what the
not very smooth. So what I did was I did a sharpening filter layer, and I probably didn't zoom. Look, this image was taken at 200 mil, so it is cropped in quite severely as well. So I would, as I say, my main object in doing this was to check that the tracking was working okay. But that sharpening was probably a bit overdone. I should have, I mean, if I'd had longer, I need to go to guiding, so I can do longer exposures, number one, and then zoom in more as well with a longer lens, camera lens, or I need to use a proper astro camera on the telescope itself. I tried the DSLR in prime focus, but just in the daylight, just sort of aiming at the harbor across the way. At that stage there was very little wind, but you can just see the whole picture vibrating. It was just with a Nikon 7100 DSLR connected on a 1¼ inch tube on the end of the scope. It's just not sturdy enough, and it just picked up vibrations too easily, so it just wouldn't work.
Yeah. Okay. Derek, from my side, I think it's quite a nice image with your 200 millimeter. You got the core very nicely there with your shorter exposures. I think you took 20 images, if I remember correctly.
2045, of which I could only use 13. So it was only, so the main data is only 13, but 20 of the 8 or 19 of the 8 seconds are also in the image.
Yeah. Okay. And you can see you've got on the corners here a bit netting, and on the left-hand side, I think that is just the Hermanus artificial light.
Orion's pretty low at this time of the year, so that glow at the bottom is the glow from the street lights.
Yeah, it's a very bad glow towards the west.
Yeah, I didn't try and remove gradients and stuff. That's all things I try and do. I didn't think that the image was worth the effort. It was just my main object was just to check the tracking.
Okay. And what about your polar alignment? Was that fine?
I just got it more or less lined up to the south. I can't see through the polar scope of that thing. I don't know. I must sort that out.
Okay.
I just can't see the stars. Maybe it's this time of the year though. Those stars are not, that octane stars are not bright enough. I don't know. Maybe it was a bit too hazy. But I lined it up as well as I could. I've got marks on my deck, tiny little white dots I put on my deck where the feet must go.
Yeah.
So that the thing is then lined up with south fairly closely, and then I do a 3-star alignment before I start.
Yeah.
So that is then lined up like that. But what I'm thinking of doing is just taking the actual telescope off and mounting my camera directly on the mount, and just working with the camera directly on the mount, and actually doing star alignments with the camera only. Connect the camera up to the laptop, look at the image and check see if I can actually do an alignment like that easy enough, or if it's too difficult what the story is. If I can get that right, then I just go to any target, and it will go very close to a target just with slight adjustments. I can then get onto a target and do some astrophotography.
Yeah.
So that's something I'm thinking of doing.
Yeah.
But actually what I must actually do is get a decent thing like that red cat that Pierre's got, because I mean you can see towards the edges of these, it's got this coma which is slightly elongated towards the corners away from the center. That's, you know, all because the lenses are not ideal for astrophotography. Fine for normal daylight landscape photography, but not for stars.
Yeah. And
So,
what was your, did you use 3,200 or 1,600?
I normally don't go above 800 because that's your optimum. Above that, you start getting a lot more noise on the Nikon sensor, although the Nikon sensor is pretty good with noise. So I thought, no, to hell with it. I'm doing these short images. Let me go to 3,200. I took darks, and then I took flats, and then I took bias, the whole works. And all of that seems to have contributed to very, very low noise in the image. I did do a slight noise reduction in the process, but it almost wasn't necessary, but it did improve it a bit, make it a bit smoother.
Okay. Well, okay, that's fine. I try to steer away from 3,200 unless I'm on my camera just on a tripod.
Yeah.
I might use that, but otherwise I prefer 1,600.
Yeah.
Oh
no, in future I probably would never go over 1,600. This was for this case. You know, the histogram came up nicely away from the left in the original lights.
Yeah.
So you know, there was nice data with the 3,200.
Yeah.
But this is really severely cropped in. I mean, you know, in the full image, the nebula would take up about 5% of the total square meterage of the whole image.
Yeah, well, that was
it is severely cropped in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's expected. Your 200mm lens is just not that powerful. Yeah. But I think it's for that that lens, I think it's quite nice.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm happy that I sort of managed to reach the limit of what the equipment was capable of.
Yeah. Well, at least you sort the scope out now.
Yeah, the mount was the main thing. I spent quite a few days on hyper tuning the mount. I think it's now behaving as best as possible. The only other thing would now have to be consider doing a Rowan belt conversion to get all the backdash out and then to do guiding. So I'm looking at how to do guiding. I've actually got a camera here that Pete Scully left that Pierre gave me. But it's got a little guiding control and a cable with it, but I'm not sure how to connect everything. So I've got to work everything out.
Yeah, okay.
All right. Peter, did you do a process on this IC079?
No, I didn't do anything. I've sort of been with waylaid by other things for the last few days, so I've done nothing. Sorry about that.
Well, at least we tried. Derek, and I think we can,
Yeah,
both of us can improve.
yeah.
I haven't done one of, I think the last one I did was that 72 or something, 072.
Yeah.
And this was the first one. Now I tried again to process.
Yeah, by the way, Pierre mentioned those, that guy that, I don't know, he's an agent for ZWO cameras or something, and he posted a couple of his images, raw images, which one can process, and I actually downloaded and processed those, and those are very nice images. Beautiful, beautiful image, almost zero noise in the original image, and beautiful detail. I just thought of it now. Sorry, I should have. Let me just see if I can find the folder. I think it's on my other.
Are those raw images or stacked?
Yeah, no, they're already stacked. It's his
Okay.
final TIFF image, which he
Okay.
shared, which one can then process. I'm just going to see if I can find it here. I had it under the guy's name. Just let me look up, see if it's in my Dropbox. Astronomy imaging.
Not everybody is keen to provide stacked images for other people.
Yeah, he had two images, and I think it's to his advantage. You know, it helps people see how good the equipment is, and helps him to sell the equipment.
Okay.
I'm just trying to remember the. Oh,
While you're busy with that, can I just ask a quick question?
Yeah.
On the attendees list, we have Pat. Is that Pat Gader? Hello, Pat. Can you just identify, is it Pat Gader?
I can't find this now.
Okay.
Do you want me to?
I think if you can email that.
Yeah, I'll send her an email later. And,
Deon, I'll email you the links to those images, and somewhere I've got my processed images. I'll send you what I got out. But they're beautiful, beautiful images.
Yeah.
It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to work on them and process them.
Well, that's
difficult images like Blair MacDonald stuff.
Yeah. No, it's nice to have an image that's very good, because you know, you don't want to struggle with your process.
Yeah,
various steps. You know, you don't know whether you're doing the right thing or not. You know, so yeah, I would like to have a look at that sometime. Okay, I think that's about it. If there's nothing else from anybody.
I'm just typing a message to Pat to ask who she is. Yeah, unmute and talk. Not typing, not very good. Okay, thanks for that, Deon.
Yeah, okay, everybody, thank you for participating in discussion. We will
thank you, Derek, and everybody.
We will identify something else for next month. We haven't had much luck with the weather down here, so maybe we're lucky next month or so, because I haven't taken any images for quite a while.
Tonight the wind has dropped a bit, but I mean, it's getting difficult to take images now, unless one now goes up to those high up targets like Itacarina and stuff.
Yeah,
but I've got these blooming bright street lights across the road from me in that same direction towards the south. I've got to put up, I've got to try and work out a way to put up a high black plastic sheet or something. So I don't have that shining on the telescope.
Yeah, I've got also a street light not far from here, which is sitting straight just southeast or east of south, and big nuisance.
All right, thanks everybody, and I'm going to stop the recording. And
Yeah, thanks everybody, and have a nice evening.
Thanks,
Oh,
all.
thanks very much.
Bosman,
Okay.
did you learn anything? You gone? AB phone. Okay. Okay. Cheers. Bye.